the basics right now. So this session will be about like the foundational knowledge about this application. And then on Friday, I'm going to host an ENT-wide learning session with some more advanced concepts. So if you have any questions after today, you can always bring those to the session on Friday, or that meeting's also going to be recorded. So after Friday, that session is going to be available on the resources page on the UCLA, the website with all of like the information on Zoom, on Teams, on family leave, all that fun stuff that IMC's been working on. So does anybody have any basic questions right now that they've been having difficulty with, so we can address those first? No? Okay. So first I'm just going to go over the search bar. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen actually, just so you can see exactly what I'm looking at. We'll go ahead and do the whole desktop. Okay, so the search bar is something that you can use to look up files, people's names, even words from messages that you've previously sent. So my go-to is always to look up document, because I'm always working on different documents, and there's so many teams and chats that we can be a part of that it's really difficult to find things. So I'm going to go ahead and just search in that word and press enter. And this will take me to like the search hub. So you can search through your messages. If you know exactly who the message was from, you can put their name in here. If you know that it was in a chat specifically or a channel, you can kind of filter those, or you can do a more advanced filter. Maybe you know it was sent last Friday, so you can narrow down the search that way. This will also show you the different users that have document in their usernames. So you can go ahead and look for someone specifically, or the different files. And you can again filter those files by the different type. So if you know specifically that it was an Excel document you're looking for, you can go ahead and filter that way. And it'll bring up all the files that have that word included in it, or where it's located, so under shared documents. So if I wanted to start a message from this area, I would just go ahead and start typing in part of a person's name, either first or last. It'll bring up either of them. So I always use Lisa because I haven't ever messaged her before. So as soon as you click on the person's name from that drop-down menu of your recents, it'll pull up either the full chat history that you have already started with that person, or it'll bring up a chat draft. So now it pulls us automatically into this chat module. And this is where you can either video call them or regular call them. Really, there's no difference between these two, because on an audio call, you can enable your camera to make it a video call. So really, there's no difference at all there. You can also share your screen with that person. I highly, highly recommend you download the actual application instead of using the online web version of Microsoft Teams. There's significantly more capabilities regarding how you share your screen with other people and who you can give control of your screen to. So for example, if I'm having an issue and I need help troubleshooting something in Smartsheet, let's say, I could share control of my desktop. And Brian Hope did this last week, where he came in and he pulled files and dragged them on my screen to show me how to do something. So that's one way, a really powerful way that you can do that. So when you share your screen, it'll have this red outline just showing that you're in screen sharing. You hover at the top, and then you can give control to any of the people who have that application open. So this is showing me everyone who's already downloaded the app and are using the app right now. Okay, so there's other ways that you can start chats with people. You can hover and select this new chat, this pencil and paper icon, and start typing one name or multiple names. So I always use people from my team. So I pull up Dylan, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up Tim. And then you can name your group chats. So if it's something really specific like enforcement supervisors, you can go ahead and group their names here. And then as soon as you have that chat created and you start typing in a message and you send it to them, you can actually pin that chat up to the top of your messages. So it's always at the top and you can easily find it. You can always unpin that message by using these 3 dots for more options. Now, I think it's really important to note that you cannot delete these chat histories. You can hide them, but they will always exist. You can leave different chats, so you can discard a draft, but as soon as something has been sent, the best that you can do is leave those group messages by using these more options. But that means that all the chat history is still existing for the other people who are in those teams. So let's say I don't want to see this meeting chat history anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and just hide it. And it'll take it away from my recent history. Now, if I'm looking for something similar to how you can filter using the search bar, you can use this filter icon to go ahead and filter by keyword. So if you know you're looking for something specific like document, you go ahead and type that, and you don't even have to press enter. It automatically pulls up the different teams that have the word document in their title. So this is giving me chat history from meetings, which we can do when we're actually in our meeting. Let's see. So if you hover in the bottom center of your screen, you can have a conversation on the side. So let's say I actually want to share a document with you because we're discussing it in our meeting. So I can go ahead and use this attachment and upload from either my computer or from the different chat histories that I have. And I can pull from any of these files. So I can open it up, attach it. Here's the document that we were discussing. And that way you don't have to wait until after the meeting to send a follow-up email. You can just do it directly in here and send. And that way, as soon as the meeting is over, you're going to have access to everything that was shared within your chat history. So here's that document I just sent. You're also going to have access to this meeting recording in this chat history as soon as the learning session is complete. Okay, so now up to this activity icon. This is probably the most important and useful icon. This is going to tell you when something is new in any of your teams. So for example, if someone posts in a team channel that you're a part of, if they like one of your messages, if they respond to you or to any of the posts in your teams, if they mention your name, if you're added to a new team, all of those different notifications are going to be made visible here. You can also filter through here using that same filter icon, or you can change from looking at what other people do to what you've done. So you would just use this bottom arrow here to go down to your My Activity, and that'll let you know everything you've ever done within Microsoft Teams. So if you need to go find a message that you've sent before in a posts channel, this is really the best option for you to go looking for things that you've done. Since we're already in here, let's see. You turn on your activity. So you turn on those notifications by entering into a team. So let's see. Yes. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get into our general channel for this BCP project team. I'm going to go up to the top right-hand corner for more options using those same 3 dots, channel notifications, and then make sure that this says banner and feed and include all replies. So as soon as you've done that and you save, anything that happens in here is going to be notified up here. So you won't miss out on any type of communication that happened within your teams. Now, it's really tedious, but it is critical that you do this for all of the team channels that you are a part of. So all of these sub channels for every single team that you're on, if there's multiple ones, or maybe if it's just a general channel, you have to follow those steps by turning on those channel notifications. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on critical content that your teams are discussing, or, you know, let's say there's a notification from your supervisor about some changes that are happening. This is going to be where they're going to post those overarching messages, and you really need to be a part of them. Okay, do we have any questions so far?
No.
Okay, awesome. So back down to teams. I know a lot of you, the default for how you view your different teams is going to be in that grid view. So if I go down to my settings, the default is this grid view. However, I prefer the list just because there are a lot of project teams that I'm a part of, and I need to frequently switch back and forth between them to update things, to reply to people. So it's better for me to have this list view rather than a grid, because with the grid view, as soon as you click onto one of these teams, this is all you see on the side, and you end up having to press back before you actually get into a new one. So to avoid pressing back, I've adjusted my settings to just be this list layout. If you prefer a dark or a high contrast theme in how you're viewing teams, you can of course do that through here also. This is a little bit distracting for me, so I just prefer the basic format. I'm a basic type of girl, but you can of course change that all in here as well. Now, let's say you're having some issues making calls to people and you're not sure if it's your audio from your computer or if it's the audio from Teams. You can use your settings with your little face icon or your initial icon up at the top right. Go down to calls, and you can actually it's under devices. You can actually make a test call through here. So if you guys are having any troubles, you can always make a test call and it'll tell you if your audio is good, if your camera is good, all that fun stuff.
So who is the test call going to?
It's not going to anyone. It's actually just going through the system, kind of like a robot.
Okay.
I say try it, have fun with it. I didn't even know if it was a feature until like a week ago. I don't know. I was just, messing around in here because there is honestly so much you could do with this that you're learning new things all the time. I'm learning new things all the time. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just get into actual teams. So there's overarching teams, and then you can have subdivisions. So for example, my DASP team is for my whole CNPS unit, and then we've divided that down to a new operation that we have, and then just our general channel. It is possible that we could have a third channel in here just for space management, because that's another operational responsibility that we hold. However, for now, we just have these two. Now, the general channel is kind of where we have like our big communication. If Chris has something new, if we have a big question for the whole group, this is where we would post that. Now, it's important to note that when you actually post in your channel, it is a conversation thread. It is not like a text message where it's just one and then you can just start a new conversation to respond. It's really important that you make sure you use this reply button if you're responding to this individual post. That way, all of the communication is linked together. If you don't do that, if you accidentally just start a new conversation to reply to someone, it can get really messy in here. So it's really, really, really important that you hit this reply button instead of starting a new conversation. Now, let's say I accidentally respond using a new thread. I can go over here and hover in the right, similar to how you would react to a new post, go to more options, and I can delete this, or I can edit it. So let's say that I accidentally say, hey guys, and then I press enter because I wanted a new line, but it sent it on accident. I can go in here and I can edit that message, and then I can continue with what I was going to say. Now, when you send a message, you can send rich text, which just means that it'll pull up all of these different options, very similar to how a Word document has a lot of options. So can these types of messages. So by using this A and this little paintbrush, you can bring up bolded text. You can make your message important with this exclamation mark, and that'll make that message stand out within your channel. So if it's something really important, you can use this. You can even insert a table if you wanted to. It's really up to you and what type of communication is going to be best to get your point across. You can, of course, make attachments. And now if you're in the posts channel and you attach something to your post, it is automatically going to be uploaded to this Files tab. So if it's something like a new SOP, so a standard operating procedure that's pertinent to your whole team, it is automatically going to be saved under Files, which is integrated to SharePoint. So all of those files are not only going to be saved in Microsoft Teams, but they're also going to be saved in SharePoint in the cloud. Super important for if you accidentally delete something in Files, you can go into your SharePoint and recover those accidentally deleted files. Let's see here. Additionally, you can, of course, communicate by emoji. My favorite is this little dancing man. I can't get enough of him. You can send GIFs. So if it's somebody's birthday on your team and you want to send them something special, you can, of course, pull one up in here and make it real cute. There's also stickers. This is Streams. So Streams, similar to SharePoint, is an integration in Teams, but it's also part of the Office 365 kind of playbook. So all of the recordings from your meetings are not only going to be saved in that meeting chat, but it'll also be saved in the cloud on Streams. And I can show you a little bit about that in a bit if you'd like. I think my favorite thing about this whole communication online is that you can give people praise directly in here and make it more than just a thank you by using this little ribbon icon. So let's say Dylan did some work for me without being asked, and I found it really nice because, you know, he just went out of his way, he took the initiative, and he did a great job. So I want to go ahead and send him a special thank you instead. So I can click on that thank you icon. I can type in his name. Oh. The person does have to be a part of your team in order for you to do this, just to note. And then I can personalize that message using this note section. So I can call out the specific action that he did, and hopefully it is very close to the action. And by having those two things combined, you're positively reinforcing that behavior. And, one, he's going to feel good. Two, other people are going to be able to recognize his good work publicly. And three, it's going to hopefully encourage future behavior to follow the behavior that's occurred. So I can say thanks so much. Let's see, for looking into Tableau. And then I can go ahead and.
I thought you were going to say, thanks so much for being.
Oh! Well, let me see. I can go ahead and preview it. And this is exactly what it's going to look like when it gets sent off into this feed. So this is what, everybody will see. You can, of course, do this in a personal message up in your chat. That same ribbon icon is going to be visible in the chat section for new conversations. But you could make it public if that's the type of praise that this person prefers. So I'm going to go ahead and discard this. Okay. So when you're making a new team, it is pretty important when you're creating it that you select other. If you select any of these different types, there's going to be some top tabs, which I'll show you in a second, that you cannot remove. Okay, so you always want to select other. For example, this person who set up this team, I don't know who did it, but I know that they selected staff instead of other because I cannot right-click to get rid of this staff notebook. It's not usable. Staff is mainly for academic side, similar to this assignments module. We can't use this assignments module either because that's for teachers specifically. The staff notebook, for teachers specifically. Now, for the DASP one, let's see, every single team comes with two main tabs, posts and files. Now, if I create a new one, see, posts and files.
What did you just click on?
I clicked on a different team. So let me see. Oh, the BC, where are you? BCS. This one, normally you'll be able to right click on a top tab and get rid of it. But this one, because they used, when they created, they used staff instead of other, you can't get rid of it. So we're going to go ahead and just create a new one right now, and I'll show you. You can add a description, you can add a team name. Some best practices for team names is just your unit name or the name of a project you're a part of or the name of the sub-team that you're a part of. As soon as you get more complicated than that, your whole team section gets muddled and it's really difficult to sift through. This is important. So my privacy is always set on only team owners can add members. You can make it public, which is why when you are setting up a new team, these ones are visible, is because they were made public rather than being kept private. So anybody can request to be added into those different groups. So I always put it on private and next. And it's going to go ahead and ask me if I want to add members now. Now I could, or if you want to get some setup done before they get added to a group, you can go ahead and skip this and I can show you how to add them later. Okay, so see how we only have these two tabs? This is what you should have every single time. I can add new top tabs by selecting that positive button, that plus sign. If I wanted to add an Excel file, a Word document, a PowerPoint, or a PDF, they first must be added into files before you can make them a tab. Yeah, you can't just add them willy-nilly up here. You first have to add them in here. So I'm going to go ahead. You can either create a new document from here, or you can upload. And I'm just going to go ahead and just add whatever document comes up first. Use my plus sign, and I know that's a Visio. That's a bad example. Okay, so I just added in this PDF. I'm going to click that plus sign, select PDF, and it'll be visible because it's already a part of this general files. I can just select it from that drop-down menu below. And you can choose to have this posted or not. So I select it, I save it, and it's going to automatically bring that PDF document as a top tab. Now this is from UCR, so you can ignore all this stuff. It doesn't really apply to UCLA. But if I right click on this tab, I can either rename it or I can remove it. So maybe the title was PDF because that's the type of document that I added, but maybe I want to say that it's actually the flowchart. That way it's easier for people to understand when they're going through this. What's really nice about this is that it also integrates with Planner. So if you would like to, let's see, if you would like to assign work to specific people because you got a project and you have a lot of moving parts and you want to be able to track when things are being done or help people stay on top of their work, you can create a planner. And when you select this, it's very similar to Trello. So you can add new kind of columns. Generally, I like to use people's names. That way work is very easily found and assigned. So let's see, I already have one ready. Project schedule. So for example, we each have our own buckets or our own columns, and we can add tasks to each other. So I can assign this to Jonah, and this will notify her via email when deliverables are coming up. So maybe we've agreed in our project meeting that she was going to write out the charter. I can set a due date for it because maybe we discussed it in our project meeting, and then I can add that task and it'll show up under her column. So I can do all of these different things, or I can select on it and I can add a checklist. Maybe this deliverable has multiple parts. I can do that. I can add some more information. Maybe the title isn't very clear. So maybe we agreed to use the template and discuss with the sponsor. To create that, maybe there's some attachments, some resources that can be added onto this that we want to add on here. We can go ahead and do that as well. So really the possibilities are endless with these top tabs. There's a lot you can do with them. As soon as it's done, it'll show as completed down here. What's really nice is that you can track kind of productivity using this chart. So you can see everything that we have left to do. Maybe by person, you want to see if projects are complete or if they have anything in queue or if anything is late, it'll show in red. Or maybe you have a lot of deliverables because this project is only happening in 2 weeks. So it'll show all of the due dates. Everything that's due would be on this calendar view. So it's really great for visual learners. Okay, so if I want to go ahead and get rid of this top tab, I right click and then I can remove it. And it'll be permanently removed. Bye-bye. However, the flowchart, because it was a PDF and it's still in files, it's going to still be visible here. It's not gone, it's just gone as a tab. The planner, on the other hand, is really going to be gone. Permanently delete this plan and all the tasks. Yep, I'm sure that I want to do that and remove. Now you can add permissions onto your teams, like who can actually delete things would be like the owner's responsibility. And you do that by going into your team, clicking on those more options and to manage your team. And you can see all of those members and what their roles are. Because I'm not an owner, I can't change anybody's roles, and I can't adjust what this team actually does. Now, if I wanted to add a member after I've already done all of the setup, I would use these more options and add members. And then you would just type in their name and add them to your team. So now you can see that I have, yes?
Why would you use my name?
Because I can see your face.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and select this members and guests, and that'll bring up everyone that's in this team. And now you can see that I have an option with this member. I can change Charles's permissions to be an owner. So he could be a partial owner to this team. He could add members himself, all that fun stuff. And that'll pull his name back up to the top to just the owners. People can request to be a part of your team if they want, if they have a code and you can approve them. All that fun stuff in here. Okay, now to the best part of Teams, probably the calendar, I think. This fully integrates with your Outlook calendar. Now I could go into my Outlook right now, into my calendar, and I could set up a new team meeting from Outlook. This will give me that join link. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and send one to Charles because I'm picking on him. Teams test. We'll go ahead and do it today from 4 to 4:30, okay? There's no conflicts, awesome. So I send it from Outlook. Oops. And it pops up in my Teams. Now, if I didn't choose this, it would still pop up in here, but there would be no way for you to join through Teams because there's not a link. There's a couple ways that you can join a meeting. So 5 minutes before the meeting, a baby join button will pop up in this right-hand corner of the actual meeting. You could double click on this. You could use this join button, or you could use this link. Or additionally, you can go into your Outlook, select the meeting in your Outlook, and you can use this join button. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can do it. Now, when you're setting up a meeting in Teams, it'll tell you if this person is unavailable or available just by the color of their name. So because this is in red, this is showing me that Charles is unavailable at this time for me to set this meeting. Now, I could go to the suggested, but there's no suggested times available, okay? Or I could go to the scheduling assistant, and this will show me my schedule and his schedule for all of today to see if there's any available time. maybe I have to do it tomorrow. So if I click on here, it's automatically going to change the time of my meeting. I'll go back to details, and his name is that light color, kind of like a gray, because he is available. So if it's red, they're not. If it's gray, they are. And then I can go ahead and send the update from here. It's changed from my Tuesday calendar, and it now shows on Wednesday. Now, if I go to my Outlook, it also shows on my Outlook as happening on Wednesday rather than on Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Okay, I'm actually going to go ahead and cancel this. Now, if you're setting up a meeting and you want to have some meeting notes with it, there's a couple ways that you could do that. Similarly to Olive Teams, there are a couple ways that you can do a lot of the functions in here. You can set up meetings within actual team channels. And that means that any meeting notes that you take in your team channel is going to be in your channel's meeting notes. So we have this meeting notes tab. If I had a meeting that was happening within the DASP channel, like this one, all of those meeting notes are linked to this tab. Okay. Or I can go in here and I can select meeting notes in here, and I can start taking meeting notes for our team. And any meeting notes that are taken in here will show up in our chat after the meeting. So they'll all be saved together. Meeting notes, recordings, the chat, everything that happens at that meeting is going to be saved in the meeting chat afterwards. Additionally, you could have a whiteboard. So if you guys are working through some things and you're more of a, let me just write out the process so we can figure this out very quickly, you could take meeting notes on through the whiteboard as well. Okay, so meetings and calls. I could meet now, and that's basically making a call. But if I do that, then it takes away all of the capabilities from my current call. So it puts you guys on hold, and it would start making a new call. Okay, or you could just type in their name down here and make a call that way. Or if there's anyone that you recently talked to, they'll be in the suggested, and you can just use these little icons to make a video call or an audio call. You can set up speed dials. You can have your history in here and voicemails in here as well. But really, the only difference between a meeting and meeting now versus a call is that one will show up on your calendar and one won't. Okay, so that's kind of the basics of Microsoft Teams. I know that it's a lot, and it's a lot of dry content. So I apologize, but if you guys have any questions right now, I'd be happy to answer them. No. I totally understand.
Well, I was hoping my questions were answered as we were going through this, and I see that you've done that. So yeah, this is some intense training that everybody is moving towards. So my question would be, is in the future, are we moving toward this Teams as we are out and we don't know when we're coming back? Is this the new that we're going to be doing in the future?
I think that's really up to you. So the reason that I lean towards using this so heavily, I exclusively work out of here. I actually don't get that many emails anymore. You can just, if you have a quick question and you don't need to write 3 paragraphs about it, why send an email when you can just send them a quick chat? Why send 5 different email threads when all of those documents and all of that content could be in one location. So that's really a huge benefit to this, is centralizing your communication and centralizing those shared documents, so that you can keep track of everything a little bit easier while we're away. So I'm not flipping through Box versus SharePoint versus my email versus the T drive. I'm only using Teams. And I think that it's up to leadership to say that I would like to use this for our team because it will be easier for us. But really, it's up to you. So if you don't mind flipping through all those things, you don't have to use this. I think that it's really useful, but if it's not useful to you, why add on another tool that you're not going to use, right?
Understood.
Yeah, so I mean, I know like the DAS one is good for us because we're all doing our own things, and sometimes we got to just check in with each other every once in a while, like, hey, what are you working on today? Can you help me with this? We use that. I'll give Matt a quick call and then share my screen when I have questions about some of the projects we're working on. But really, I mean, like some of the project teams that I'm working on are working just out of this chat exclusively. They're not working out of an actual team or a team channel. They're just working out of the chat. For me, that's a little confusing because if you can't, I mean, not if you can't, really, like chats can build up so quickly, and they can get out of hand, and you can be unorganized real fast. With Teams, I can hide them, I can alphabetize them, I can do a lot of things to keep that type of stuff in order. So it really works best for me.
So with that being said, I have to ask a question for all of you guys who are a part of this. All the others who are involved in this meeting, what say you?
Well, I know that special events was already using Microsoft Teams prior to this remote working situation.
That's correct. I think, Samantha, thank you for putting this together. So Samantha actually, you could say, used us as guinea pigs to, get this introduced to the department, and we love it. And in special events, it's a way for us to be able to communicate not only internally, but trying to keep everything, like Samantha said, centralized. So we've been using it ever since she introduced it to us, and then this just benefited us so much more when we started telecommuting. We still have to use our email just because of the nature of our business and communication to other departments. But in terms of all internal stuff, we're using this exclusively, as Samantha said. So we really like it.
Diego, thanks for that feedback, because that's what I was looking for. And I see that there are, I don't know, 12 other people on this conversation. Can other people chime in to give us positives or things we need to?
I mean, there are limitations to this also, right? Like if you're working off of the web, some of the things aren't, they don't work the same as if you're working off of the app. Sometimes it's difficult to join meetings depending on how they're set up. So if you guys have all that feedback, I mean, it is all useful.
I know that I've been using it on a lot of the projects that I've been either working on or leading, and I feel like, as Sam mentioned, there's a lot of features that you can utilize on here. I thought I preferred Zoom, but I've been using Teams majorly. So I think that a lot of what she covered today, there's a lot of features on here that you guys might not necessarily use, and that's okay. You don't have to use them. But just knowing that these options are available is really helpful. I really like that, we can get on these calls and mute our mics, mute our cameras, share our screen if needed, that the files are readily available. Yeah.
Laura, Robert, you guys have anything to add to this or what? Armando?
Well, I was going to jump in and just agree with what Valerie's saying. We use it for parking assets a lot. We do a lot of kind of meetings and just chat and communicate or share some documents. Now, the difference between this and Zoom is that you only get to see about 4 screens at the same time, as opposed to Zoom where you can see the whole team. So if everyone's on the camera, you have to wait for that person to finish or assume they're done, and you kind of jump in. But other than that, I mean, as a team, we like to use. I mean, personally, I like to use Teams.
So what I'm hearing is that we are all in on going forward with this. Is that what I'm hearing from everybody? And if not, somebody please speak up.
Well, I think that it's really up to us whether we want to utilize this. I mean, obviously, this is something that was kind of integrated right now since we're all working from home. I can't really speak for anyone else on this call, but I feel like when things do start to get more back to normal and we are back on campus, I probably will still continue to use Teams, to be honest, especially if it's within the office communication.
Charles, one thing that Devron has mentioned is he thinks once we go back to the office, when we have meetings, we're not going to be meeting in any meeting rooms. We'll probably be attending to our meetings from our desk using either Teams or Zoom.
I mean, that is one benefit to this type of meeting, is that we knew that meeting space was already a limited and highly coveted commodity before we left. It was really difficult to set up one-on-ones and to set up large meetings when, 157 was always taken or something like that. So that is a benefit that could be longer lasting than just this short term right now. Like I said, when I worked at Esri, this is the only reason I knew about this technology, is because I had used it at my past employer. And they rolled this out to their entire company, billion-dollar company with thousands of employees, and they all had their own accounts and they had their own teams. And those teams were divided by large units, similar to assets. And then they may or may not have had channels. Maybe one was enforcement, maybe one was special events, maybe one was maintenance. So that way they could, organize their teams that way. Or they could have had specific teams, just enforcement and just special events, which is kind of similar to what we're doing here. So that way, information is pretty centralized for just those teams. We're only talking about enforcement stuff and we're only talking about a special event stuff. But maybe there's one large team similar to the BCP, how they have theirs, which has everybody included. So if there was something that was going to affect your entire team, that communication would be sent out to everybody at once, rather than having to add all of their emails, their email addresses to an email. So there's some pros and some cons to how you set up your teams, but if you did want to just do one just for enforcement, that is an option for you.
Hello, Charles. Yeah, I agree that we should use Teams. I've liked using it. I wish we would have had this class earlier, but things move so quickly. But having said that, it's really worked well for me as well.
Okay, good to hear, because that's the feedback that I'm trying to get, is moving toward this direction. Is that where we want to go? And I'm assuming yes, but some people may have different types of different points of view, and I want to make sure that all of those are expressed with moving forward with this.
I think meeting in person, given the current environment, it's going to be obviously limited, but I think we still need to have that as a consideration, to have that interaction in person, although it may be limited. I don't want to exclusively say, hey, we're going to be working out of Teams or Zoom 100%. That I don't agree with as of now, but this definitely is a way of of how we're going to be moving forward, but not exclusively, in my opinion.
Okay, good feedback.
No, I hear you though, Charles, because sometimes when you get into these large groups and people start taking steps forward, opinions and feedback can be left behind. So I really appreciate you opening up the floor to be able to have that different type of feedback from other people instead of just the positive. Because like I said, there are some limitations with this. There are some, everything has its quirks. So I'm really glad that people are giving like both the positive and the negative.
And we need that in order to move forward with all this. This is a new anomaly to all of us. So we need to just really pay attention to everything that we're doing, because from my level, and of course, Devron's level, things are firing off the wall. You throw it, you see if it sticks. If it sticks, okay. If it doesn't. And so we're going through some madness right now, but we have to have a method before we go through this madness. That's basically where I am.
Definitely. So there is a resources page. I'm going to go ahead and link that in the chat after this meeting that has some video recordings of the same type of things that I went over today, just so you have that additional resource that you can reach out to if you don't remember how to do something, or if you need a little refresher. And then again, there's going to be the ENT-wide kind of town hall meeting on Microsoft Teams on Friday. So if you guys have questions, please bring them to that, because, like Armando said, this learning session did not happen soon enough. I really tried to get this to happen sooner, but it didn't. And that leaves people at different experience levels with this application. So I really need to understand and to know what you guys want to know about this on Friday that maybe I didn't go over today, or maybe that you run across in the coming couple days, or maybe you Google some things and you think that it would be really helpful for other people to know. So if you guys want to go ahead and pass that along to me, I would really appreciate it. But again, I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording. And that way it'll be available within that team chat as soon as this meeting ends, okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you, Samantha. Appreciate it.